Alright guys, Jay Product Performance here. Part 2 of the assembly of this old Ford O Matic, Cruise O Matic, whatever it is. Alright, so the next thing we got to do is put the center support in. And that is this piece here. And I checked the bushing is good. Now, if you look at this, it's got 3 holes on the side, evenly spaced, and they are going to line up with this here, this bolt here. This is servo bolt, and let's see, that is this bolt here. See, it's got the end of it is, it's turned, so this is going to actually fit into one of these holes here. Okay, and it doesn't matter which hole. And then also we've got these 2 screws here, and they go on the side of the case here, one over here, and then same thing on the other side. We got one there. So what I gotta do, I gotta clean these up, get this red paint off of them. So I'm going to go do that, and then I'm also going to this Planetary here. It's got some rust on the band surface here, so I'm going to get that cleaned up on the lathe and fix all that. We talked in the last video about the humidity, rust, and stuff that gets inside these things when they're just sitting for a long time. Alright, so you don't need to watch me do that boring stuff. I'm going to go take care of that, and I will be right back, and we will continue on here. So bear with me. Okay, here we go. Now, remember, we got the 3 holes we got to line up. And it doesn't matter which way we orient this. We just have to line up the holes. And the hole pattern's evenly spaced. It's not eccentric or anything. And as usual, this is going to be hard for me to do, but I'm going to try to line that up best I can. Just give it a little tap with the hammer handle. Alright. So then what I like to do is try to look through this hole. And we are somewhat lined up. See if we can get one of the bolts in. Don't force these in, because you'll crush the center support. You don't want to do that. So it looks like it kind of dropped down on me. So hang on, I'm going to put you down here for a minute. Apologize for the bad filming, but I need my other hand. So alright, got that bolt started. Now I'm doing the other side. Great, that went in. I just threaded these in with my finger. They should go in that easy. Okay. And then I'm going to put this in just temporarily, just to keep the center support aligned while we put everything together. This is especially more important on the newer models that have the one-way clutch is going to ride on a race that's out here. This old one doesn't have that, but we talked about that in the teardown video. So okay, that's good there. Now, next is going to go in is the Planetary, and there's a bushing on the inside. There's this bushing on the outside here. And I clean this surface up. Then there's a thrust washer surface down in here, and it takes this crazy thrust washer. Some of the new ones had a bearing in here rather than the thrust washer. So I'm just gonna put some trans prep on it so it stays in place for me. Alrighty, that's in place. I'll put a little on here. Alright. So this on the this on the outside here rides into that bushing and the center support, so I'm going to lubricate that as well. And I'm just going to drop this in. I'll try to do it one-handed. Just kind of turn it a little bit, and I think that's it. I think it went pretty easy. I think we're all the way in. Okay, good. Now there's a thrust washer that goes here. This, I believe, is your selective washer. So if you need to tailor your end play at all, these came in different sizes. But you know, I don't know if you can get them anymore. I have some. You know, they're old NOS ones or something, but I think I do. I used to have some. But honestly, on this unit, end play is typically not an issue. It's not super critical, for one. And two, this unit, unlike, say, C4, C6, where they tend to, you know, like whatever, say you set them at 20 thousandths, they end up at 40 thousandths over time. Because what happens is the sun gear kind of eats its way into the sun shell, so you end up getting more clearance for that reason. This particular unit doesn't have that problem, so that's kind of cool. So you don't really typically have to do anything with end play. You know, basically just make sure it's not bound up. That's kind of it. You know, it's really pretty forgiving in that respect. So I'm just going to put a little, don't need much, just going to put a little on here, lubricant, and on this side as well, on the bushing surface. So, and I'm going to put a lot of trans prep on the sealing rings here, and these are gapless rings, so they, you know, they lock in place, so it's typically, you don't have an issue there. Okay, I believe I am ready to put the output shaft on. So that's this guy here. Now down inside here, if you can see, and I believe that's a replaceable sleeve, but yeah, I don't know that you'll ever find a replacement sleeve for it, but that's where your sealing rings ride, down inside there. And this, you know, it's in good shape and everything. So just give me a second. I'm going to put some trans prep on it. Again, we don't want to damage these sealing rings, so lube that up good. So this will just real gentle, and kind of turn it, because you got to engage it in the gears, and that went right in, no problem. Alright, so that's looking good. So what's next is our rear pump. So we're going to have a gasket that goes here, and then a gasket on the other side of the rear pump. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to spray those gaskets with the copper gasket coat, just because these gaskets are just very thin paper. I don't want this to have a leak. You don't really want to have to take the extension housing off on this unit, because if you do, you know, if you do this in the car, you risk one of the thrust washers or something falling out of position or whatever. You don't want somebody to have to be messing around with trying to fix a leak on this later on. So you know, just to be on the safe side. And I just realized I screwed up here. So in a way, I'm kind of glad I screwed up, because I want you to notice this. I forgot to put the rear band in. So this stuff's going to have to come out again. So I'm going to have to take the output shaft out and the Planetary back out, and then put the band in, and then do this again. So hold on 1 second while I back up here. You don't need to see that. And kind of glad in a way I messed that up. So you have to kind of, you know, just like we did with the front section, you had to put the band in first. You have to put the band in first, the rear section. So give me 1 second. I'm going to take these two things back out. And I've got my band soaking here right next to me. So I'm going to grab that. So give me 1 second. Okay. Back to the back. I went ahead and sprayed those gaskets too. And the cool thing about that is, check it out. I got this cool gold thumb now. What was that James Bond movie where they painted the girl gold, and the rumor was that she died because they covered all her skin, and if you cover all your skin can't breathe, and you're a goner, you know. But kind of reminds me of that. And don't do this. This is idiotic. You know, hold it with something. Don't be stupid like I am. You get old, you figure, you know, you don't have time for the cancer to, you won't be alive long enough for the cancer to kick in. So old people like me do stupid shit like this. But anyways, all right. Now the band's got to go in. So I believe, and you know, maybe one of you old guys will correct me on this. I may be wrong, but if you look at this band, there's a dimple here, and it doesn't have it on this side. I believe the band goes in like this, you know, because your servo is going to go here. So I believe this dimple was kind of intended to go towards the servo, which is going to be here. I don't think it matters, honestly. I'm pretty sure you can put this in upside down. It doesn't matter. I'm pretty sure I've done it both ways, but I could be wrong about that. You know, as many of these as I've built, there's always little things that you're just not 100% sure of, you know. So just being honest with you there. So in this, you're going to kind of just knock it in like this. Okay, just did that with my hand. It's easy. So you can see here, we're going to kind of leave the band in this area. You're going to have to center it up a little bit to get your Planetary in. So that's going to kind of just sit there. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the Planetary and the output shaft on. So I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to go off camera again. I'm going to put these two pieces back in. You already saw me put them in before. And I'm going to put the sealing rings. I'm going to check the fit of the sealing rings into this piece here. So we're going to check that out. And that's, you know, always look inside here. Make sure it hasn't worn ring grooves or anything. And this one looks good. I'm going to clean that up in there just a little bit. But there's no wear in it. So we got that. I'm going to check the rings again. I said that before. And I'm going to put the sealing rings on here. There's going to be 4 rings that go on here, so I'll put those on, because that's kind of a job you got to be careful with, and you need both hands. You don't want to break those rings. They don't give you extras in the kit, so if you make a mistake and overextend it and snap it or something, you're going to be dead in the water. And the other thing I'm going to do, there's a little keyway here. And I've got new keys. The key that was in this is in good shape, actually. It's a little, I think they call it a Woodruff key or something. Sometimes they get a really big indentation in them from the gear over time, but this one's in good shape. It really is. But I've got a bunch of new ones that I'll never use. I'll never live long enough to use them, so I'll probably just put a new one on. And this has definitely been rebuilt before, because I can see the indentation on both sides, so this has been flipped over. Just little telltale signs like that somebody's been in the unit. Okay, I'm going to go away again, and my thumb's all better now. So don't worry about that. I won't die like the gal from 007 movies there. Alright, here I go. I'll be back. Okay, so this is the rear pump, and this is what's going to go in next. And this bushing in here was good. And this bushing you can get, I think, if I remember right, our GM Lovin' Brothers, they would use this bushing in, I don't know, a 350 direct drum or something, because it was a little wider than what the original bushing was from GM. So they put a Ford part in their GMs. Go figure. So you can give them hell for that, but just like they put Ford 9 inches in their stuff. So anyways, so yeah, that bushing's easy to get, but this one's in good shape. Been making out really well on the bushings. I gotta say, I'm real happy about that. Alright, so now I have not assembled this pump. Okay, the gears are still not in it, and the cover plate. I'm going to do that after. You can assemble it now if you want, however you want to do it, but I'll show you. So I'm just, of course, going to lubricate this, and I'm going to put a little bit here. And the reason I'm doing that is we've got another thrust washer that goes here, and we just want that to stick. Okay. FMX has had a bearing there, and I've actually put a bearing on these older units. I've put bearings in some of the locations. Craziness, I know, but sometimes like I would put a bearing if, for example, if this thrust washer was bad, I've actually put bearings there because I couldn't get the thrust washer. I did it just for that, not necessarily for high performance. But I've done it for that too. People have asked me to put bearings and stuff on these units, and I've done it in some other locations. It's not worth doing, but just, I was younger and more enthusiastic, and I wanted to make these things something special, but for what people are doing with them now, it's not really worth it. But alright, so I'm going to try to, I don't know if I can do this one-handed, honestly. So I'm just gonna drop this in over. I'm gonna need my other hand. I don't want to risk dropping this and breaking it, because I will be in a lot of trouble. So okay, so I just dropped that on. The gasket's underneath it. Now what I did is I put this would be the intermediate servo bolts. I put one here and I put one here, and I just snugged them. And the reason I did that is I wanted to check my end play. So number one, you want to make sure this turns easy, and no problem there. And then what you do, if you just put a screwdriver here and just pry on your forward drum, and you can see, I think you can see that. I don't know if you can see that moving up and down just a little bit. It's probably, I didn't measure it, it looks about 20 thou or something. It's fine. I'm happy with it. So, okay, now we're going to put this rear pump together. Very simple. Now, again, you could have done this first. I just like to do it after. Doesn't really matter. I've done it both ways, honestly. So, I'm going to put a generous amount of trans prep in here, because when we first fire this up, you're not going to have any lubrication here for a bit, until all the passages and the system fills up. So you always have to remember that about your pumps, is when you first fire these up and you get air pockets and things that have to purge, the pumps are going to turn a bit without oil running through them. So I try to be pretty generous on the trans prep, so we don't, gall up the gears or anything. So these gears, I do not believe it makes a bit of difference which way they go, but if you look, I did put a mark here, and of course you got to remember which side your mark is supposed to go, but I did it facing me. So I'm going to drop the inner gear on, and I'm going to align it with that keyway, and that went in nice and easy. Okay, so we're there. That keyway keeps this inner gear from spinning on the shaft. And then I'm going to take this. I put a mark on this also. Again, if you put these upside down, I don't think it's going to matter. So, okay, I'm going to drop that in there. Now, I'm just going to coat this a little bit with the trans prep. You can use Vaseline. You don't necessarily have to have, official assembly lube. Vaseline works just fine. It's a little bit thinner, especially if it's hot out. Like you're like us in Texas in the summertime here. This stuff gets pretty thin just from room temperature. Alright, so I got that. And then here's the cover plate for the pump. And you can just check this, make sure it's not all grooved up or anything. You can see where the gears rub, but there's really no noticeable wear. So it's an eccentric bolt pattern. You can't screw it up, but it's got this one little hole here that's going to go in this spot. So just to save yourself some time, that'll go like that. And I will go off camera and put the screws in and tighten those up. So give me 1 minute. I don't think you need to watch that, and I need both my hands. Alright, cover plate's on, tight. This one's got flathead screws. Man, I hate flathead screws. I don't know how you guys feel about them, but I wish they'd outlaw them. Of course, there's an antique, so it'll be too late on this, but I believe when screws were first new, this was the only way they knew how to manufacture them, and then they came out with things like Phillips head, and now they've got Torx and square drive and all that other stuff. Phillips head is better than flathead. Square head is better than Phillips, and Torx is probably the best. But they didn't have those manufacturing techniques, probably even at this time in the 50s. So pretty much most of what you see is flatheads. The later units had Phillips heads. I don't know the history on the screw heads, so don't quote me on any of that stuff, so please. But anyways, so basically what I did is, I have a hard time getting them tight enough, I feel. I don't torque them or anything, but I just put a little wrench or pair of pliers on your screwdriver and just really, just give them a little extra snug. I don't want that plate to come loose. Alright, so now what we got to put on is the governor. And if you look here, there's a little recess here. So I'm going to put a little bit of trans prep on there, and I'm going to put it around here too. So what I did, and I've shown this on an AOD also, I put this little, I don't know if you can see it good, but it's a little piece of an O-ring I cut. Looks like a hockey puck. I'm just going to put it in that hole. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the ball in there. And then this piece here, which is very similar to an AOD, you're going to have to tap it on a little bit because that little rubber ball is going to give it resistance. And the reason for that is we want to create a tight seal against where these feed holes are. And this is tricky, so you can put this on upside down, so be careful. you got to make sure this is going to go this way, not this way, because you want your holes to line up with the holes in the output shaft. I'm going to need both hands, so I've got to blindfold you again. Be right back. Alright, so that's how that needs to look. Now, these governors, the AOD goes on upside down from what this is, and FMX might be different, or I don't know. It's confusing. So, but you have to just look for your holes. Now, what you can do if you're not sure of yourself, blow into these passages and make sure you feel. It's hard to show you that, but you can feel. Yep. So you got air blowing through them. Okay. These are just the holes between the rings, the ceiling rings for the governor, and so you just want to make sure, or both see it. It'll come out the other way. Might be a little easy, but if you're getting a transfer of airflow through them, nice and free, you did it right. So if you're not sure of yourself, just check that. Now, the other thing you got to be sure of, your governor, you can put this on upside down too, and that's fun. So you could, I think, potentially put this like this. I believe it will allow you to do this, but this is wrong. Okay, you see these two slots up here? They're towards the top, or they're above these holes. Well, you notice that these feed holes are above these screw holes. So you're gonna, this is gonna match up, and this is gonna go like that. Okay, that's very important too. You will have a lot of problems if you don't do that right. So, okay. And I told you this before in the last video, this is a very simple governor. It's just got this one valve, but it's got corrosion and stuff on it, and it wasn't working freely. So I need to go off camera, take some time. I'm going to clean this valve up with some emery paper. If you're wondering what paper to use, I don't know, 320 is good. Probably 400's enough. Nothing coarser than 220. But 220, whatever you got. Just don't make a federal case out of it. But if you have to clean something like this up, just go ahead, and I'm going to make sure it's working nice and freely in there. And then it's just going to go on with 2 screws, and I'll put this on. So I will do that off camera. You don't need to see that. Let's see, we're at 28 minutes here. I'll keep going. I want to try to get the extension housing on today. Alright, I'm shutting up and I'm getting to work. Alright, there's our governor. So now what's next? These 3 tubes, if you remember these. This one's got like a little spacer on it. Put that in the middle. I don't know if it matters that much, but I'd put it in the middle. That one's a little tight. It's okay. Yeah, it's kind of tight. Alright, I'm going to lubricate these. So I'm going to put some of the trans prep on these. Bear with me here. Anybody want to volunteer to come and hold camera for me? So, alright, put that one in. Alright, so lubricating that with the trans prep real good. Alright, so we got those 3 in there. Again, so your one with the spacer, I put it in the middle. I don't know that it would really matter if you put it in one of the other positions, but middle seems good. Alright, so we got these rings, and you can see how much they like to hang over. And you got to be careful not to break them, just like we discussed before. So I'm going to be generous with the trans prep on this. Other units I don't really use that much trans prep. I mean, I use it, but I tend to be a little bit more generous on this unit just because of these goofy rings. So these things weren't really designed to be put together like an animal. You know, you kind of gotta finesse them. But I don't know, maybe you don't. Alright, so there's that. Now, this here, don't know if you can see, but I cleaned this bore out. And I've discussed this in another video. The way I clean that out is with a, you know, just like a brake cylinder hone that you get in an auto parts store. That's what I did there. So that was a video, I think that was a pump video. I was showing you how to open up a bushing and a pump, and that little brake cylinder hone, if you're going to build transmissions, that's important. Now this can be put on upside down, but you see the side with the big taper on it, that is your friend. That's going to help us with these rings here. That's going to go down, and then of course this piece here that bolts on and off, I've got it bolted on already, but that's going to face down and go onto the tubes, obviously. So here we go. I'm just gonna go easy, you know, and it may I'm gonna kind of look under here. Sometimes you gotta kind of push that thing into place. Push that down. Just gonna work it on. I really need my other hand. I'm sorry, guys. I'm blindfolding you one more time. Alright, guys. I knew Wit would let me down. So, I broke a sealing ring. We got a ring here. You know, I told you I was going to check the fit of these rings, and I'll be honest with you. I checked 2 out of the 4, and guess what? I have, well, I'm not sure about the broken one now, but I've got, I think 2 didn't fit, and 2 did. And the 2 that I checked fit. And, you know, this drives me crazy. You can never skip a step. You know, I don't get away with anything. So, so frustrated. You know, the quality of parts today, I don't know. You know, I don't even know what to say anymore. Alright, I gotta go rummaging through my old parts and see if I've got a couple more sealing rings. The two down here are fine. And you know, it was going in kind of hard, and I tapped on it a little bit, and I didn't listen to what I've been telling you guys. Do not, you know, if there's any resistance at all, just stop. Well, I didn't stop. I mean, I didn't pound on the thing, but and I don't care if the ring broke because there's no good anyway. So the other 2 rings seem okay. So I gotta go rummaging around and see if I can find some rings. Very frustrating, guys. All right. But, you know, I'm kind of glad you see this, because, you know, I always tell you, I'm going to show you the bloopers. I'm not going to just make this look easy and like I'm some sort of a hero. Nope. I'm a zero, and I struggle like everybody else, you know, so that's why I always, you know, these guys that want to slam something together for the weekend or something, just don't even talk to me about that, because it just doesn't work. You know, if this was Friday night and we had a race tomorrow morning, yeah, we ain't making it. So, okay. No problem. You sort of kind of get used to this, but some days it gets to you. Alright, I'm going to go try to do that, and let's see what I got in my inventory. Alright, I'll be back again. Okay guys, got lucky. I had a couple of rings from the good old days, and I replaced those two, and man, it went on a hell of a lot easier. It just really slid on easy, so let that be a lesson to me and you and whoever. But if it's not sliding on easy, just something's wrong. I should have checked all 4 of those rings. I only checked 2, and that was dumb. So, alright. So that's on, and I went ahead and put this gear on. It's the same, it goes on the same as the governor sleeve here. It's just got a 1/4 inch check ball. I put a little, probably unnecessary, but I put a little, piece of that rubber, make that little hockey puck thing, so that this, I don't remember before, but this was kind of loose on there, and I just tightened it up, because I don't know if it makes the speedometer shaky or something, if it's kind of flopping around there. It probably doesn't, but I did it anyways. I tightened it up, and then I put the little snap ring on here. Let's see, my video's getting kind of long, so alright, I'm gonna stop there, and we will continue this in part 3. So alright, making progress. Thanks for watching.